What's up, everybody? I'm LeBlanc.
I'm OC.
Time for another adventure.
Say you want smoke, you can drop the address. I'm a stone cold killer, I'ma do so on my chest. 50 cal deagle bullet shooting through the vest. Hope the morgue got a mop, cause I'm finna leave a mess.
Alright, so today's episode is about cinematic universes. That's a blanket, loose term.
Yeah.
To put it simply, cinematic universes. Well, he's got a deep dive for today on
The Tarantino universe.
I have a deep dive today on
The Pixar universe, I think.
Yep. And we're gonna start off, though, before we get into those two, we're gonna start off with just some light ones, some TV shows that are possibly connected. And so I guess a disclaimer for before we start this video, these are all like mostly just theories, just fun fan theories. They have no real credibility to them. They have, well, some of them, we'll discuss which ones have more and less confirmation from the creators. Yeah, so I guess yeah, we'll start off with
Breaking Bad and The Walking Dead.
I loved Breaking Bad. I never really got into The Walking Dead. I watched like the first episode or two and I couldn't get it. Just wasn't my thing.
I watched the first couple of seasons. I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I hear very good things about it, so yeah, just not for me. But the theory stems from, I believe there's an appearance of blue meth in The Walking Dead, and I also do know, because I saw the video, there is an instance of a character in The Walking Dead referencing a character that sounds a lot like Jesse Pinkman from Breaking Bad. They aired on the same network.
Yep.
So that's something. So basically, like, alright, so I will theorize, you can back me up or tell me where you disagree. I think what the basic idea would be is that the meth that they're cooking in Breaking Bad, that specifically Walter and Jesse cook, is supposed to be like the best of the best of the best, superior meth. And it's also blue, unlike any other meth that anybody in the world has ever seen, including the tweakers, the dealers, the DEA. No one's seen it. And so you have Jesse, who gets like what, 96%, 97%, around there, when he goes to prove himself for Gus and his guys. And the next,
what did Walter get? You get 97 or something?
No, Walt was 99.
99 on
Gale, I think, was 97.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Someone had 97.
Yeah, something. And so Gale's dead. Jesse off to Alaska. Walt dead. Now they all know the story, though. The DEA, FBI, CIA, whatever, all know the story. They are gonna have the top chemists trying to figure out and recreate this blue meth shit. And along the way, they're gonna make some stuff that's not exactly meth.
Someone's gonna get a bad batch of something.
Someone's gonna become patient zero. Meth heads do kind of look like zombies already. But if we're gonna start the episode talking about meth heads and zombies, I'm gonna roll a blunt. A Backwood Boys is back at it. Shout out to Blaze Boss, though. I just ran out. So these next few are all pretty light ones, but they're still worth talking about. So the next one is one we're both very, very familiar and passionate about: The Office and Parks and Recreation being connected. So to start, they have the same creators: Greg Daniels, Mike Schur, something.
As well as The Good Place, not connected, but great show.
I love that show. In the later seasons of The Office, I believe season 7, Dunder Mifflin gets bought out by Sabre Printers. In Parks and Recreation, they use Sabre Printers. So, and Perkins, and Karen Filippellers, they are played by the same actress, Rashida Jones, Quincy Jones' daughter. So that's where it gets tricky, but then you have to remember, you've got people that are already on The Office that are referenced. Alright, like, I don't know how to explain this. Like Idris Elba is on the show as Charles Minor. Someone references, like, a movie that has Idris Elba in it, so it's like, let's get past the same actress thing and just assume that they're different people still. Let's not forget Scranton, Pennsylvania, where The Office takes place, Pawnee, Indiana, where Parks and Rec takes place, they're not too far. Obviously, Pawnee's fake, Scranton's a real town, but Indiana, like, to Pennsylvania, not very close. So it's not like Stanley or...
But also not very far.
Not very far, but it's not like Stanley or Phyllis or Jim is going to be selling Ron Swanson his printer. But we know from, like, the company picnic episodes that there's mad branches and shit, so...
Yeah.
Dunder Mifflin, Saber...
Saber's headquarters is in Florida, so we can assume it runs all up the East Coast.
And if Saber bought Dunder Mifflin, it's probably bigger than Dunder Mifflin.
Exactly.
I guess that pretty much concludes that theory. On to which is less... This next one is less of a theory, and it's more of like a crossover. He's more familiar with, but Brooklyn Nine-Nine and New Girl had a crossover episode.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm familiar with both shows. I've watched both shows, but I haven't seen the crossover.
Yeah, the crossover is pretty good. Jake Peralta, the main character.
Andy Samberg,
played by Andy Samberg. He's like chasing after someone on foot, and they get in a car, so he has to commandeer a car from someone. And it ends up being Jessica Day from New Girl, who is in New York with her friends, visiting her friend's family. And it's funny because when he commandeers the car, Jessica Day, he says, "I need to take this car, I'm chasing after a perp," and she says, "It's a crossover." She's referring to the car, but actually, you know,
self-referential.
It's pretty funny. It's a good episode. Brooklyn Nine-Nine and New Girl, both of the crossover episodes are good.
While we're talking to crossovers, before we get into our deep dives, let's just rattle off all the TV show crossover episodes that we liked, as you know, that we like. My personal favorite was probably a tie between two, but they're kind of the same. So there was A Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, That's So Raven, and Hannah Montana did a crossover episode. And then there was Sweet Life on Deck, Wizards of Waverly Place, Hannah Montana crossover. Those two were really, like, my favorites, like, growing up, excluding the OG GOAT Rugrats Wild Thornberrys crossover.
Yeah. I was definitely a big Rugrats guy.
Oh yeah, I was a Rugrat.
I had all the VHSs. Not even CDs. They didn't make them back then.
No, I had the orange, VHS, Rugrats Go to Paris, all that. Rugrats the movie, like everything. Rugrats and the Wild Thornberries.
You remember McDonald's had a show? Ronald McDonald had his own show and movie.
Makes sense, because he had the Hamburglar and all of that.
Oh yeah, it was a whole cast of people. It was crazy.
Grimace.
Yeah.
Another one that's actually goated. Now that I just thought of this one, I kind of regret saying that the other one was my favorite, because now I swear to God, yo, Timmy Turner, Jimmy Neutron crossover, that was goated.
Yeah,
that was goated. Now that I think about it, forget the Sweet Life shit. That one was my favorite. I forgot about that one. And what I really liked about it was that the animation styles changed, because it was honestly really cool to see the characters from Jimmy Neutron with the 3D animation style in the 2D animation style of Fairly Odd Parents, and then also vice versa, seeing like Timmy Turner in a 3D animation style was cool. And then that brings us to the most adult cartoon crossover that I could think of, The Simpsons Family Guy.
Oh yeah. That was a good one.
The end fight between them. There was like the chicken fight, but with Homer and Peter.
He teaches him how to eat a donut.
Yeah, and when Stewie was just really, really trying to get Bart to like him, and Bart was just like, "I don't want to like talk to you, dude." Alright, so before we smoke this blunt and get into the Pixar universe and the Tarantino universe, it's time to hear about this week's sponsor. Alright, so it's time to talk about today's sponsor, KC Custom Decor. Now, KC Custom Decor, what is it? It's this shit right here. Not this. Not this. This is something else. But all this custom decor. This stuff right here is from one specific drop. KC Custom Decor does drops all the time based on holidays, seasons, general times of year, a school, back to school theme. They've done Easter theme, which I actually got a pair of Peeps that says Our Little Peeps, and it has both of my daughter's name on it. I'll put a picture right there. They have all fully customizable stuff, so They have these book stacks right here. These are called book stacks. These are called book stacks. You can get them fully customized with your children's name, everything.
They also have seasonal items for it, though.
Of course, they have winter, Christmas, Thanksgiving, St. Patrick's Day, which of course you know my drunk ass loves. I'm going to put some of my favorite from the last St. Patrick's Day collection right here because I loved it. Yeah, so basically that's it. KC Custom Decor for all your home decoration needs.
Want some ice cream?
No, it's not real. It's not real. Don't eat it. Don't eat it. Alright, so for anyone who knows me, and for those of you who don't, my two biggest passions in this world, other than my kids, Pixar movies and Greek mythology. Mythology in general, but heavily Greek mythology. It's what I have tattooed all over my stomach. I don't know if you can see all of them. I have done extensive research for more than 10 years at this point on both of these topics. All on my own, through no prompting of any schooling or any teachers or anything. Just all on my own personal interest. Have done extensive research on Greek mythology in the Pixar universe. So I'm about to get into it, and it gets deep. So it's gonna get confusing. If you have to run it back and watch it a couple times, that's cool. I want to give a shout out to three very important people. First, John Negroni is the man who originally created the Pixar theory. He has a book about it. He created the Pixar theory a while ago, before all the movies that are out today are out, so his original theory didn't include a lot of the more recent films. So, where I was first introduced to John Negroni's theory, and where I have since gone to get updates on what I accept to be canon for the Pixar universe and the Pixar theory, Super Carlin Brothers. So they originally did a video, it was Jay Carlin from the Super Carlin Brothers, did a video on the Pixar theory breaking down John Negroni's original theory. And ever since then, every time a new Pixar movie has come out, the Super Carlin Brothers will make a video explaining how they believe that movie fits into the Pixar universe. So their theory is what I accept as canon. I do adapt my own twist to some of it, but 99.9% of what I believe to be true for the Pixar theory comes from the Super Carlin Brothers. So we'll get right into it. First, I'm going to list off all the Pixar movies, because Pixar and Disney are very different. They're not very different, but they're not the same. Not every Disney movie is a Pixar movie. Pixar is its own separate company owned by Disney.
Like ESPN and
yes,
different shit.
The Pixar movies, there are about 26 or so of them. I'm going to list all of them off right now in order of release. In order of release, we have Toy Story, A Bug's Life, Toy Story 2, Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, Cars, Ratatouille, WALL-E, Up, Toy Story 3, Cars 2, Brave, Monsters University, Inside Out, The Good Dinosaur, Finding Dory, Cars 3, Coco, The Incredibles 2, Toy Story 4, Onward, Soul, Luca, Turning Red, and Lightyear most recently. So, in the Pixar movies, there are what's called Easter eggs, and this is something that exists in all movies, TV shows, most types of media, video games, whatever. The specific Pixar Easter eggs that tend to show up, there's a few that show up in every movie. There's the number A113, which also, again, shows up in other TV and movie not related to Pixar, because it's a room a lot of these creators studied in at, I forget which college, but they studied in this room, A113. So they put that in every Pixar movie. They have the Luxo ball, which is the yellow ball with the blue stripe and a red star, I believe. Those three colors, the general idea of it. They have, usually there's a Chinese food box. There's also an Easter egg for the next movie to come out from Pixar. One movie comes out, inside that movie, there's going to be a nod to the next movie that hasn't even come out yet, but will come out. So those Easter eggs are not, those are like a very small part of it. The rough timeline is not the same as the movies were released in. So the Pixar universe starts with The Good Dinosaur. In The Good Dinosaur, we see the asteroid that was supposed to wipe out the dinosaurs completely missed the Earth. It just flew by. Dinosaurs never went extinct, so they lived for a lot longer. They evolved, and they adapt a lot of skills that humans adapted at the beginning stages of human life. That movie goes to show two things. The first goes to show why the Pixar universe, why Earth in the Pixar universe is very, very similar to ours, with some differences, like the inclusion of magic, superheroes, stuff like that, but we'll get into that. The second thing it goes to show is that you cannot escape your fate, which is dove deeper into in Brave, which is the next movie in the timeline. But in The Good Dinosaur, we see these dinosaurs getting wiped out by nature. We see the humans kinda starting to be there, the cavemen, the cave people. The dinosaurs, such as, like the T-Rex, they herd animals so that they can make sure they have food. T-Rexes didn't do that according to our real life studies. On to Brave. Brave dives deeper into that idea of you can't escape your whole fate, your destiny. That's a big theme throughout that movie. But the other big important piece of Brave is the witch. There's no way to like ease into it. In the Pixar theory, the witch is Boo. Yes, the witch from Brave is Boo from Monsters Inc. all grown up. But we'll get back to that at the end. Also, don't forget that in Brave we see the witch who is capable of turning a human into a bear. She does this at least twice. But moving on. The next gap in the Pixar universe is more or less what I would call modern times, because Brave is medieval times, The Good Dinosaur is prehistoric times, millions of years ago. The next gap is about the 50s, which is when The Incredibles takes place, all the way up until like the likes of Coco, Soul, Inside Out, Turning Red. These are all the more like modern day, like more closer to like late 2010s, early 2020. All these movies though play a very important role in shaping the Pixar universe, because it's showing what the exact powers are in the Pixar universe. And the three powers in the Pixar universe are animals, humans, and artificial intelligence. With The Incredibles, we see the introduction of artificial intelligence with Syndrome's robots.
Yeah.
We start moving on to Toy Story. That's the next. It's like, I don't know, 70s, 80s, 90s, like that general area. And then keep moving on. Finding Nemo would probably take place about when it came out, about 2000, about 2003, 2004-ish. That sounds about right for the Pixar universe for Finding Nemo. And it shows the hyper intelligence of animals, because with the lack of the extinction and the mass wipeout of all animals, these animals that were really like unaffected by all of that, they had time to evolve, which is why the fish in Finding Nemo and in Finding Dory are so intelligent. They're able to plot an escape from the dentist aquarium. How could a fish
communicate like
right, different species of fish and everything. We see Dory and Hank, the septopus, drive a truck, which I thought was a little far-fetched, but they do it. They escape from an aquarium. And the next movie in the timeline is Ratatouille, which continues to show the advanced intelligence of animals. Now, the animals will never quite get back as on top as they were in The Good Dinosaur. That's about it for them ruling the planet. But they still show hyper-intelligence all throughout, from Ratatouille even into Up, where we see the dogs that can talk. And I know they have the collars, but to be able to understand English is still a feat for a dog. Moving on to movies such as Inside Out and Coco. Inside Out and Coco establish memory as a very important thing, because what we are seeing in Coco with characters in the underworld or afterlife experiencing what they call the final death, this is essentially when what we see in Inside Out, this is when all the memory orbs of that containing that person vanish. Just like we see Bing Bong vanish, just like we see them dumping all the memories into the bottomless pit. Like, they disappear. When that has happened, when there is not a single memory orb of you left in anyone's head, you experience the final death that we see in Coco. Now, which brings us to Soul. You notice Soul, you notice Coco, and we see that they're different. They're both supposed to be the afterlife, but they're different depictions. So how could they have different depictions of the afterlife in the same universe? Well, Inside Out really kind of helps explain that, but also Coco explains it itself. It's a cultural thing. It's a belief thing. The people of that culture genuinely believe in this practice of Dia de los Muertos, and they believe in it so much and practice it so much that it is reality. It is reality, and the universe just like accepted a whole culture of people believing and religiously like practicing and going hard for that stuff year after year after year. They were rewarded for that by it being a reality. They spoke it into existence. Next, after the modern era, is when we get into sort of WALL-E. When WALL-E takes place is not actually the next in the universe, but the story that is told within WALL-E takes place about now. When the Axioms are leaving Earth is what happens next. Because in Finding Dory is when we do see a lot of pollution in the ocean. We see the Earth is deteriorating. So they get up on the Axioms, mad at them, they leave. They're gone in space, floating around. While the Axioms are gone, the artificial intelligence created and introduced to the world by Syndrome has adapted and taken over the world in such a way that we have gotten to the point of the Cars universe. The Cars universe takes place in succession in the in the Pixar universe. There's no movies come in between them. The Cars come to life or awaken in a similar order to when they were created in the real world. That's why we see in Cars 1, we have Lightning come in as the rookie, and he's a newer looking race car than the cars he's racing, the Chick Hicks, whatever, the Doc Hudsons. And then in Cars 3, we see Jackson Storm come in, and he's this electric car that's even newer looking than Lightning McQueen and the whole new generation of rookies. These cars aren't being reproduced. Like, no cars are just having sex and making babies cars that are growing up to be jacked. Like, no. The cars are waking up because these electric cars didn't get created till later in the human timeline. The cars also take on the personality of their real life driver, which is why the tow truck mater seems to have a stereotypical tow truck driver personality. Lightning McQueen has that typical hotshot rookie personality. You get what I'm saying. By the end of Cars 3, compared to the beginning of or throughout Cars 1, we see the Earth depicted as less saturated, not as good. It's getting polluted. So the cars are all eventually going to come to an end. And you may be asking, what makes you believe that the cars are on the same planet as us? Easy. Cars 2, all the same landmarks. Cars 3, the yellow car, Cruz, she talks about not wanting to run over little crabs on the beach. If you look at everything in the Cars universe, it's all cars. Even the little bugs are little cars or little planes or whatever. But it would make sense that little crabs on the beach, hermit crabs and stuff, would have survived through all this pollution when everything else died off, because they're built different. And basically, and so it makes sense. So that links it up. On to after the cars pollute the Earth and die off. Now we have WALL-E taking place. And that's when the Axiom comes back to Earth and starts developing the planet again, repopulating the planet again. This is around the time that A Bug's Life takes place. Remember, it's the polluted Earth. That's why the bugs have human trash, all that. But also why there's no humans around. They're not even worried about it. Their biggest threat is a grasshopper. And these are like bugs, like a ladybug, ant, a stick bug, a caterpillar. These aren't animals that typically live in the desert, but where are they in the movie? They're basically in the fucking desert. That's why it's so hard for them to get the food for the grasshoppers. Also, who ever seen that type of oak looking tree in the middle of the desert? No, it's the polluted Earth that's being repopulated. That might even be the little plant that grew out of the boot that WALL-E found. Once these humans are back on the Earth, yeah, they're repopulating, yeah, they've got organic life back on, but this planet was run by nothing but cars for a long millennial, like long times. So it's, you know, there's radiation, there's pollution like a motherfucker. So these humans start to mutate and evolve and sort of turn into, I don't know, monsters. As the timeline goes on, that is right. These humans that came back from Wall-E on the Axiom turn into the monsters. But before that, remember how he said there was multiple axioms? One of those axioms may have crashed on a planet. Maybe it was the Onward planet. And that's why the Onward planet went from this medieval time planet to a modern day Earth-like planet. Anyway, monsters, they travel back in time to the original human timeline. But the timelines move in parallel. So if today they go back to one day on the human timeline, tomorrow it'll be the same tomorrow from the human timeline when they go through the doors again in Monsters Inc. They go, they find Boo. Boo is obsessed with Sully her whole life. She comes back to it her whole life, keeps looking, keeps trying to find him, keeps trying to travel through time, finds success using the wood from the tree, from A Bug's Life that was planted, from the plant that came from the boot from Wall-E. It all connects. Boo is the witch from Brave. There is the loop of the Pixar universe. Now it's time for you to get into the Tarantino universe.
Tarantino universe is more so confirmed than the Pixar universe.
Correct.
Quentin Tarantino has himself came out and said more or less that they are all connected. There's actually 2 universes. For him, it's the realer than real universe, where he basically, it's essentially he rewrites certain events in history. And then there's the movie universe, where the realer than real characters will go to the movies and see the movies that he wrote.
Okay, so much like how in the Pixar universe, Lightyear is a movie that those characters would have seen.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I got it.
Exactly. The characters, some of them are actually related between different movies. So if you've watched Django Unchained, great movie, very long movie, but you meet in one of the first scenes actually, Dr. Schultz. He's a man, he's a dentist when you meet him. And he's the one who rescues Django. Essentially, as they go along, the doctor's telling Django his life story. He's saying how he moved from Germany, where he was married to a lady named Paula Schultz, where he was also a dentist, but when she learned about his second profession, which was a bounty hunter, the marriage took a turn and they split up, and he moved to America to open up a dentist office, a dentistry, also becoming another bounty hunter again. And that's where he meets Django. So the connection there is with Paula Schultz. If you look at in Kill Bill 2, so when you look at Kill Bill 2, when they're marrying, the scene where they're burying the bride, the tombstone on the grave that they're burying her in says Paula Schultz, the doctor's wife. She died around 36 years after, which would take place during Kill Bill.
Mm-hmm.
And it's believed the doctor died way earlier than that, like 6 years after Django Unchained came out, I think.
Okay.
So the next one would be between Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs, Vincent Vega and Vic Vega. Vic Vega, played by Michael Madsen, and Vince Vega, played by John Travolta.
My boy, John Travolta, Gotti.
Great actor. Yeah, so John Travolta is basically a hitman. He's more relaxed, and it's basically confirmed. I don't know if they confirmed it actually. I don't know. Don't take my word for it. His brother is more like a torturer. He's a trigger man. He's got a couple screws loose. You know what I mean?
No, I know what you mean.
So the next one would also be Pulp Fiction, where Mia Wallace in a scene on a date with John Travolta.
John Travolta.
She was telling him about a TV show that she was up for that ended up getting scrapped. Wasn't that good. And when she was describing it, she was talking about the characters and how her character was the deadliest woman in the world with a knife. And when she's describing it, it's essentially the same plot as Kill Bill. It's a team of women assassins, or a group of women, and her character, when John Travolta asked what's her character's thing, she's the deadliest woman in the world with a knife, which is the same thing as Kill Bill. and they also look.
Isn't that a katana? Knife, same.
No, the blonde woman.
Oh, yeah, whatever.
And they also somewhat look similar. So the next one, and the last one of the relatives, I would say, that I have written down, is the Donowitz family. So if you've watched Inglourious Bastards, Donnie Donowitz, also known as, by his nickname, Bear Jew. Yep.
Shocking.
Yep. So,
every time.
in Inglourious Bastards, he's very violent. He kills many Nazis. And basically, Quentin Tarantino rewrote the ending of the war where this guy, Donnie Bear Jew Donowitz, as he's called in the movie, shoots Hitler and kills him himself, and then blows up the theater that they're in. And that's the end of it. Fast forward to True Romance, another movie by Quentin Tarantino, also in this universe. The main character, Lee Donowitz, grows up without his father. So he hears all these stories about his father being a war hero, killing all these Nazis, being just a generally like violent person in the military. He's a badass. Plain and simple. So he just grows up hearing all these violent stories, and then he doesn't know how to express it or how to get it out. So he becomes a director, and he climbs Hollywood, becomes the top. And his debut movie is called Coming Home in a Body Bag, which is what he said, a tribute to his father, which you can assume, Donnie Donowitz, war hero. So also, throughout the whole Tarantino universe, you see certain, like you were talking about with the Pixar universe, you'll see certain brands, like Red Apple cigarettes or Red Apple tobacco, Big Kahuna Burger, Geo Juice, all pops up in Pulp Fiction or Inglourious Bastards or Hateful Eight and Django Unchained. It pops up everywhere.
Right, like in the Pixar universe, you have B&L, which is By and Large. It's in Cars. It's the company that's trying to move Carl out of his house in Up. It's the company that makes Buzz's batteries. It's the company that runs the Axioms that they're on in Wall-E. Also Triple Dent Gum, which is in Onward. It's in Inside Out. So, similar thing here. Alright, so now that we've got those deep dives out of the way, it's time to move into the question section. Do you have any questions?
I do. So you were talking about certain Easter eggs that lead into the next movie, or they give a hint at what the next movie is going to be.
Right.
Can you name all the Easter eggs?
Can I look at the
list?
I can
look
all
at
right.
the list of movies.
I have my list of movies. Yep, I got my list of movies here. All right, I don't know the first couple. I do know that in Toy Story 2, you can see a couple of the bugs from A Bug's Life on the leaf when they're walking to Alice Toy Barn, but that doesn't really count because that's the last movie. But the next movie after Toy Story 2 is Monsters, Inc. After Monsters, Inc. was Finding Nemo. So in Monsters, Inc., we see a Finding Nemo toy in Boo's room. Finding Nemo is a little more tricky, but I believe, yes, Finding Nemo in the dentist's office, there's a little boy in the waiting room reading an Incredibles comic book, and The Incredibles is the next movie that came out. In The Incredibles, we see Doc Hudson in the end fight with Syndrome, because Cars is the next movie. In Cars, the next movie would be Ratatouille. I don't know it. Off the top of my head, I don't know that one. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
Ratatouille to Wall-E. I don't think I know these next couple. Ratatouille, Wall-E, and Up. They were a little weird era where I wasn't really seeing the movies right away, so I didn't grow up with those couple movies as much.
Excuses.
Excuses. I know. Oh, no. I do know Up. So from Up, the next movie is Toy Story 3. When Carl is flying by in his house at first, he flies by a skyscraper. A little girl in the apartment building has a Lotso bear. Lotso from Toy Story 3. Toy Story 3 was the next movie. Alright, the battery died. Had to change it. But where we were, Toy Story 3, into Cars 2. I'm almost positive there's a toy of Mater in the daycare. I think it's Mater. And I think he's in the blue paint. But anyway, Cars 2 to Brave, don't know off the top of my head. Brave to Monsters, Inc., there's a carving of Sully in the witch's shop. Monsters University to Inside Out, don't know. Inside Out to The Good Dinosaur. I know it's an Arlo toy. The Arlo is somewhere. I don't know where. It's Arlo. I know that. I remember it. The Good Dinosaur into Finding Dory. I think it's gotta be a bird, right? Anyway, Finding Dory to Cars 3. The truck driver that they steal the truck from has a Lightning McQueen Band-Aid. Cars 3 to Coco. It has to do with the paint on one of the cars, I think in the Demolition Derby. Coco to Incredibles 2, there's a poster in the Afterlife area. There's a poster of the Incredibles in, so that's for that one. Incredibles to Toy Story 4, there's a Duke Kaboom toy in Jack's crib. Toy Story 4 to Onward, there's a toy, I don't remember, but there's a toy from the Dungeons and Dragons type game that Ian's brother plays. Onward to Soul, it's at the tip of my tongue, but I don't remember it. Soul to Luca, don't remember Luca. I don't remember the rest of them, to be completely honest. But that's what I got for you, my boy. Because, you know what? I do know them all. I did know them all at one point in my life, but I can't remember all of them. Next question. Favorite Quentin Tarantino movie? Mine is Pulp Fiction.
I just watched that today.
First time?
Yes.
Congrats.
Yep, it was a great movie. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, maybe, but I'd have to say Django Unchained. It's a very long movie, but it's so good.
Yeah, I haven't seen Django, but my favorite is Pulp Fiction. I like that one. Next, since we're on that topic, favorite Pixar movie?
Either Finding Nemo or any of the Toy Stories. Probably third or second.
My personal favorite is between The Incredibles and Finding Nemo. Based on, like, growing up with them. The Incredibles game on the Game Boy, I crushed that shit.
Fun.
I played it so many different times on every difficulty. Finding Nemo again, I just watched it a lot, so I liked it. But the Toy Story movies they're like almost another tier, because like they're so goated, and that's including Lightyear. It's including Lightyear. I loved Lightyear. I thought it was fantastic. You still gotta see it. I would rank the Toy Story movies, not that you even asked, but I would go 2, 1, 3, 4. But that's tough because they're all so goated. Like they're all so good, so it's like picking a favorite child. You love them all, like you can't really pick a favorite.
Incredibles was definitely up there for me too. I watched that.
So fire. And The Incredibles 2 kicks off with the Underminer, right where The Incredibles 1 left off, so it's so good. Any other questions?
Can you think of any other universes besides the ones that we've talked about, and obviously the DCU, MCU, that you'd either like to see or that we didn't talk about?
I would like to see an extended Ninja Turtles universe. Maybe a series about Shredder that doesn't involve the Turtles. Maybe a Splinter series that doesn't involve the Turtles. You know, maybe we have a like the Groot series that's coming out.
Yeah.
Maybe we have like a Bebop and Rocksteady type series that's like that, because they're obviously kind of goofy. At least from the cartoon that came out back in '87, which is my favorite shit. Growing, I have everything. And the movies from like 90, 92, and 93, I think they came out. Fire. So yeah, definitely like an extended Ninja Turtles universe. Because they just keep remaking them. They just keep remaking Ninja Turtles with different stories, and it's cool, but I'd like to see like one solid universe that expands like 10 films minimum. What about you? What's a universe you'd like to see or have seen that we didn't talk about?
So one that we didn't talk about would be the Adult Swim universe. We have Family Guy, American Dad, The Cleveland Show.
Right. Alright, so like obviously Seth MacFarlane created all those shows that like more or less connected. Personally, I love The Cleveland Show. Got a lot of hate, but I religiously watched that show every episode. When it went to Netflix, I watched it over and over and over again. Family Guy, been a fan since as long as I was allowed to watch it. Same with American Dad, I've always loved it. Roger, Steve, Stan, like Francine. So I loved all of them. I love all the Seth MacFarlane shows. Obviously Ted 2. Alright, so let's get off the rails. Off the rails, we gotta start with the MCU announcements. So, Alright, you know what? I'm not even gonna take my time because there's so many of them. Right here. These are the ones that are coming out. What one are you most ones are you most excited for? I have a couple that I'm most excited for.
Quantumania is definitely up there. Ant-Man,
That's one of mine. That's one of mine.
I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see new Captain America. Whenever, I don't know when it's coming out, but I want to see how he does with it. I'm interested to see the Agatha show.
Yeah. So mine is Quantumania, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, looks so good from the trailer, and the Groot series. I don't know why, something about that teaser and the trailer just looks so funny and so good and interesting to me. Also, What If Part 2. And the Fantastic Four, which I didn't want to mention because, as I said in a previous episode, they're so goated to me. They hold a special place in my heart. It's a bias thing. I can't include them in the list because of the bias. I love the Fantastic Four, so anything that includes the Fantastic Four, I will always love by default. So it's not really fair to say that it's the one I'm anticipating the most because that goes without saying. Okay.
Loki Season 2 as well.
Loki Season 2. That is interesting to me because I expected a continuation of that story. I didn't expect them to do any season 2s of these series, but I'm glad we're getting it. This Friday, so the day after this episode airs, I am going to Fenway Park for the night of a lifetime. I am going to see Motley Crue at Fenway Park. It's not just Motley Crue's who I'm going to see, but it's a legendary lineup. We've got Motley Crue, we've got Poison, we've got Def Leppard, and we've got Joan Jett. I'm going with my pops. Legendary lineup.
That should be a good night.
The reason I got into Motley Crue music was from their movie The Dirt. I'm not gonna lie. That was the first time I ever saw a biopic and got into that artist from it. The Biggie one, I already knew a lot about Biggie because I grew up on that from my dad. Same with the NWA one, which I saw 3 times in theaters because NWA is my favorite group. Obviously, Eazy-E is my favorite rapper of all time. Anyone who knows me will tell you that, but that's for another episode. But yeah, the Dirt biopic of Motley Crue was the first one I ever saw that really got me into it. Do you have a favorite Motley Crue song? No. My favorite Motley Crue song is probably pretty basic. I like a few. I like Live Wire. I also like Same Old Situation. So probably those two I would have to put as my favorites. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the concert. Looking forward to all these Marvel movies coming out. And I'm looking forward to see what cinematic universes come to fruition in the near future.
Yeah. Alright, we're going to head out.
Say hi to your mother for me.
Say you want smoke, you can drop the address. I'm a stone cold killer, I'm a deucer on my chest. 50 cal Deagle bullet shooting through the vest. Hope the morgue got a mop, cause I'm finna leave a mess.